Hello, collective. It's Satya again. I wanted to pop in tonight and do kind of like a follow up on the last video I posted, which I think was Friday. And I was thinking about the video in which the theme cards that were pulled was Shift, Karmic, Truth, and Relief. And so the message from that reading was us needing to make a shift in our life, in our habits, in our patterns, so that we're moving away from karmic patterns, learning our karmic lessons, and really moving into a place where we allow truth to lead us and guide us towards our North Node. And as we embrace that change, as we embrace that shift, and learn the karmic lessons that Saturn has to offer, we will then experience relief. And I know that Saturn recently shifted into Pisces. And I mentioned that in the video. And so I wanted to kind of come back and talk a little bit about Saturn and the karmic lessons it brings, because I thought it was, for me, if you see something moving down here, it's my little chihuahua. See, there he is. He's a little pooper scooper. Get underneath there. He likes to hang out. He likes to hang out underneath my clothes. So embarrassing. But I wanted to come back and talk a little bit about Saturn, the karmic lessons that it pushes us to learn and understand, just because I thought it was a wonderful addition to the video. And I also wanted to talk about Saturn's representation in the tarot, which is represented by the Emperor. So let's start off with, just Saturn itself. So Saturn is a planet that represents structure and truth. It really encourages us to be mature. It encourages us to overcome obstacles and challenges. It is the father planet. It is the teacher planet. It's also called the Lord of Karma. And so what that really means is that Saturn is going to push us to grow. Saturn is going to push us to really build discipline through tests and trials in our life. Saturn is the planet that will impose limits on us. Saturn will throw challenges in our path because he wants to see us rise to the challenge and embody our own personal power. And what that looks like hold on a quick second. PooPoo needs to go outside. Go on. Okay, thank you for holding on, and sorry for that interruption. But what Saturn is going to do is it's going to impose limits on us. It's going to give us obstacles to overcome. It's going to teach us discipline through the tests and the trials of life. And what that looks like, again, in the tarot is the Emperor. So you can see here I have 3 examples of the Emperor, and they represent, again, the father, a masculine energy that is stable, a wise teacher, a man who is in control of his environment, in control of his mind, in control of his emotions. You can see there that he's sitting on a throne, and that throne represents, I'm going to be reading from my notes here, that throne really represents his power and his authority as someone who is in charge of not only his life and his personal his personal environment, but also over his kingdom, over his court, over the land. And you can see also here, he is holding in his hand a scepter that is an ankh, and in his other hand he's holding a globe. And this represents life, truth, his domination over all that he owns, all that he sees, all that he reigns over, everything in his kingdom. He's in control, he's logical. And of course, he's got that white beard, which represents the time that has passed, his wisdom. And that, again, speaks very much to Saturn and the role that Saturn plays in our life of the teacher, the elder father, the mature man that has gone through life, has overcome obstacles, has built discipline, and has embraced his personal power and really is an embodiment of personal authority. So when we think about Saturn, that is the theme of Saturn, right? And that is, of course, the theme of these karmic lessons that we have to learn. Life will put challenges and obstacles and things in our way, and we either rise to the occasion or we fail to rise to the occasion. And that is sort of the point of Saturn's return. So right now, Saturn is in Pisces. It will be there for the next 2.5 years. The sources that I checked out said it would be there until around May 24th of 2025. So it spends about 2.5 years in each sign. So if your Saturn is in Pisces, then you are experiencing your Saturn's return. And again, kind of harking back to the Emperor, the theme of Saturn's return is really growing up, right? Maturing, growing, becoming an adult, gaining discipline, balance, and putting our life in structure and order so that as we progress and as we grow older, we're not 50, 60, 70 with our life in shambles, living like a teenager. And because Saturn's cycle is about 2.5 years in each sign, with there being 12 signs, Saturn's return comes around about depending on the degree of your Saturn placement, between 28 to 30 years. So every 30 years or so, we will experience a Saturn's return. So your return will happen around 30, around 60, and around 90. We only get about 3 returns. So when we think of it that way, we can see that each stage is really each of Saturn's return is a departure from a life stage and entry into another stage. So that first Saturn's return at around 30 years old, that lesson that Saturn is bringing us, and that threshold that we're crossing, is moving away from youth, moving away from being a child, and stepping into being an adult. At 60, we are leaving the midlife stage, moving away from, again, our 30s, 40s, and 50s, and really moving into the fall season, the autumn of our life, where, maybe children are growing up, maybe kids are going off to college. Individuals around that time are really able to sort of take control of their life, and especially if they've had kids, kind of build their own path, as opposed to being the primary caretaker of young children. And that third stage that third Saturn's return is really around 90 years old, and that is the age where you're really leaving that midlife and moving into being an elder and the responsibilities of being an elder, passing on wisdom, teaching the younger generations, because likely before the next Saturn's return, we will be leaving life and moving on to the next stage. So again, each stage, 30, 60, 90, with each Saturn's return is really a crossing of a major threshold and a coming of age cycle. So again, because Saturn is the Lord of Karma, the Father, the teacher, at each of these stages, 30, 60, 90, there is a time period where Saturn is really trying to teach us and push us towards a level of growth that we need to master before we can successfully move into the next stage. I'm not sure how old you guys are, but let's say however old you are. Can you imagine being 60 years old, not having learned the lessons of our 20s or our 30s or our 40s? Can you imagine being 90 years old, your third Saturn's return, and not having mastered the lessons of, again, your 20s, your 30s, your 50s, your 60s? That would be insane. That would be hellacious. And so as Saturn leaves our sign and comes back around to have our specific Saturn return, it brings wisdom, the lessons that we need to learn, the challenges that we need to overcome, so that we can be a better, wiser, more sturdy person, right? Have things in order, build a strong foundation, so that as we travel to the next stage in life, we are building on something solid. And of course, the lessons of Saturn are represented by whatever house Saturn is in. The karmic lessons that we have to learn will be represented by each of the houses. So, as if you can think about Saturn in its orbit, going through the first house, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, and each of the signs in his orbit, each of those signs, each of those houses will be a lesson. And I've got some of my house cards here. So the first house represents you, who you are, how you show up in life, your arrival. The second house represents resources, owning, material things. The third house represents messages, communication, our mental habits. The fourth house represents home, our roots, the place where we ground ourselves and connect. The fifth house represents passion, creativity. The sixth house represents routine, sustainability, again, balance. The seventh house represents partners, partnership, relationships, the connections, the things that those intimate relationships that we have. The eighth house represents beginnings, endings. It's a house, it's a mysterious house. It's a hidden, those things that sort of we hide from others, and sometimes even that we hide from ourselves. The ninth house represents faith, exploration, really developing our personal views, expansion of our consciousness, of our world. The 10th house, which is Saturn's home, represents authority, the larger world, like the public space, and sort of that outward facing. So while the first house represents kind of the ourselves and the inward us, the 10th house represents more the outward world. But this is the home of Saturn. Of course, they're right with authority, responsibility, power. And the 11th house represents friends, the collective, community, groups, group dynamics. And the 12th house representing an introspective energy, escape, the quiet, calm place that we all hold in ourselves. So with each of these houses, as Saturn travels through each of these houses, it is putting challenges, it is putting us, it's putting limits, it's imposing limits in that specific theme to help push us beyond where we currently are. And it's encouraging us to, again, grow in each of these areas. And if we embrace that challenge and really, work diligently to understand what Saturn's return has in store for us, right? The transitioning into adulthood, midlife, and then being an elder, then we will leave behind the things that no longer served us, no longer was working for us, things that were holding us back from growth, things that were holding us back from stepping into our next stage of us, right? When we're holding on tight to things that no longer serve us, we can't embrace the things that are meant for us. And so, again, Saturn's return, and there he is. You can see him kind of in the picture there. An old wise man. He's sitting with his arms crossed. He's looking. He's watching to see, are we stepping up to the challenge, right? Are we taking steps forward and leaving behind old cycles? So this is, again, sort of where Saturn will push you to grow by setting these limits for you to break through, and imposing obstacles that you are needing to overcome so that you can step into the next stage of life, so that you can experience a cosmic entry into the next stage of life, which is really exciting. So if you know or you have your birth chart, then I encourage you to definitely look to that and find where your Saturn placement is. So that you can discover how Saturn will impact you specifically and how it will influence your life. A few facts about Saturn and how it relates to the Emperor. The zodiac sign that's represented by Saturn is Capricorn. And of course, it is the sign of practicality, calculation, calculated steps, order, logic, responsibility. It is the ruler, Saturn is the ruler of the 10th house, which is focused on career, publicity, authority. Yeah, I'll pull it out again for us. That public space, how we present ourselves in society. And you can see there's a globe there as it spins around. So this is really about, the larger world and how we behave, act, and embody who we are in the world, which aligns well with career, authority, and publicity. And Saturn is exalted in the sign of Libra. And I happen to actually have my Saturn in Libra. And what that means, again, for me is I strive to have a stable career. I like to have my money in order. I like who I am as a person. I like that to be my public persona. I like that order between who I am inside to how I represent myself outside. And me being a Gemini, very much a mental kind of in your head sign. Um, with my Saturn in Libra, logic, practicality is also very important for me. So if you by chance are a Capricorn or a Libra, you might also feel the same way. But Saturn, as the father figure, the emperor here, really tells us to step up. Show me what you're made of. It encourages us to really grow up. It encourages us to shed illusions, to stop blaming others, really show not only ourselves but the world that we can own it. The lesson of Saturn is truth. And the question is, can you handle the truth? Because we can only get by for so long fooling ourselves, pretending to be someone that we're not, allowing disorder and dysfunction in our life and lying to ourselves and saying, oh no, I'm okay, I'm able to work through this. Eventually, reality is going to catch up with us. And again, on that Saturn's return, 30, 60, 90, I go back to the question I asked before, is do you really want to be 60 years old, 65, 70 years old, and your life is the same as it was when you were 20, 25? And for me, that answer is hell no. I want that logical order. I want that practicality. I want that stability. I want a strong, solid foundation that I can build on. Because as we get older, we need that strong foundation. So again, Saturn is that reality check. It's incoming. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when your Saturn return comes back to your sign and the house and the degree to which it was when you were born in your natal chart, it's really grinding you down. It's coming in to ask you, hey, what have you been up to these past 30 years? We're moving forward whether you're ready or not. I hope that you've been able to make the shifts, make the changes, learn the lessons, because learning the lessons of a 25, 26, 27, 28, 29-year-old at the age of 35, 36, 40, 45 is going to be very difficult. And again, if you could kind of think of that in the way of maybe a father coming home to see you and ask, what have you been doing? Did you do your homework? Did you do your chores? And you have to explain to this guy that you did not. The lesson he's going to teach you is going to be very useful, right? Very, very powerful, but it is going to be a hard lesson to learn. You're not going to want to make that mistake again. So I wanted to share that with you because I was watching some astrology videos, and one of them popped up, and it was Saturn's return, and it made me think of the reading that I did, which I think was actually very, very on point. Shift, karmic, truth, relief, right? Shifting our patterns, shifting our behavior, shifting our ways, aligning ourselves with our morals, our values as we grow and as we age, right? These karmic lessons, so that we are not only living in our truth, but also finding relief from stages, places, people, and things that were no longer serving us. And again, that's really what the Lord of Karma, Saturn, the Father, the teacher, is encouraging us to do. Grow up. Let go of things that are no longer serving you. Become an authority in your own life, right? Move into adulthood. Embrace adulthood. Grow with grace. Learn the lessons of life. Study. Grow. Challenge yourself. Gain discipline. Become your own authority. Hold your own personal power. So that not only do you have the ability to be the master of your own world, right? Be the authority in your own personal world, but also show up as an authority in the larger world. That is Saturn's lesson. That is the teacher, the father, and their message to us. So I hope this was useful for you. It was useful for me. I really wanted to come back and share that with you. If you have not seen the video that I did prior with Shift Karma Truth, go ahead and check that out. This will be my third video, so it's one of the three. So go check it out. I would definitely encourage you to look at your natal chart, see where your Saturn placement is, find that house, and do a little studying up, especially if by chance your Saturn is going to be returning to you soon. Just because, again, it's coming, whether you're ready or not, and the lessons that the Father wants us to learn, we're going to experience one way or the other. Thank you so much for joining me. I am really excited to be here with you guys again, and I will be putting out another video maybe tonight or definitely by tomorrow. Okay, so make sure to come back and check it out, and thanks for sharing this space. See you guys. Missing you. Peace, love, and blessings.